Hello everyone. In our previous video, we spoke on the USA's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. Today, we shall delve into the ramifications of the action on the global South nations as the US also halted Usaid funding, which is known to particularly focus on countries in the same area. These actions have far-reaching consequences and we'll explore their impacts and potential mitigation strategies. My name is Jacqueline and I share content to promote environmental awareness. Now, the US has historically been a significant contributor to international aid and climate initiatives. Its recent policy shifts has left many developing nations, facing unprecedented challenges. Several people have commented on this shift, which included a development expert from Reuters who was keen to share in the article that the abrupt cessation of USAID funding for the next 90 days has led to the termination of numerous health programs across countries like Sudan, Kenya, and South Africa. This disruption jeopardizes essential services for millions, including HIV treatment and maternal health care. A health official in South Africa and members in the AU were also open to share that the sudden halt of US funding HIV programs had been termed as a devastating blow to various nation systems, climate adaptation, and healthcare. Big words used to amplify the current state in the world. Now, beyond aid cuts, the US withdrawal from the Paris Agreement and related climate commitments poses significant challenges for developing nations. A climate policy analyst noted that the US exit from the International Partners Group, IPG, which pledged funds to assist countries like South Africa, Indonesia, and Vietnam in transitioning from coal to renewable energy, has led to the cancellation of various green energy projects, whereas South Africa stands to lose over $1 billion in US investment for its energy transitioning, hindering efforts to move towards sustainable energy sources. The effects by the nation seem to not only cut across various nations, but also ultimately affect the progress made towards achieving a green economy for the entire globe. As I delved into my research, the Loss and Damage Fund, LDF, was established to support vulnerable countries facing climate-induced losses, an agenda the US had supported. However, as of the early March, the US withdrew from LDF boards. The world is said to be impacted. The substantial financial support developing nations had anticipated from the Loss and Damage Fund, LDF, to support and address climate-related damages will greatly be affected by the US exit, which creates a funding gap, delaying critical recovery and adaptation projects. Climate activists have further supported that the withdrawal undermines global solidarity and places a heavier burden on nations least responsible for climate change but most affected by its impacts. Now, the ripple effect of the US policy changes extended beyond immediate aid and climate financing. The US retreated from global health initiatives such as its withdrawal from the World Health Organization, diminishing collaborative efforts to combat pandemics and other health crises. Not only does the suspension of the US foreign aid disrupt ongoing development projects, but it also leads to economic instability and the increased poverty in affected regions. In light of these challenges, what steps can the international community and affected nations take to mitigate the adverse effects? We recognize that there is an urgent need to formulate development strategies by diversifying funds, resources. Affected countries should engage with alternative donors, including private sector philanthropists, to fill the void left by the USAID cuts. Countries can also mitigate this issue by establishing regional climate funds that can provide more localized and accessible financing for adaptation and mitigation projects, reducing over-reliance on single country donors. This can also be collaborated with the desire for countries to support themselves instead of placing a heavy over-reliance on on global north is African governments have on multiple occasions been accused of mismanagement of foreign aid and corruption. I believe that as Africans, it is time to liberate ourselves and sustain ourselves. In conclusion, the US withdrawal from key international agreements and the halt of aid have undeniably strained the global south. However, through strategic partnerships, diversified funding, and strengthened local capacities, these nations can navigate the challenges ahead. The community's collective effort remains vital in building a sustainable and equitable future for all. In conclusion, the US withdrawal from key international agreements and halting of aid have undeniably strained the global south. However, through strategic partnerships and diversified funding and strengthened local capacities, these nations can navigate the challenges ahead. The global community's collective efforts remains vital in building a sustainable and equitable future for all. Thank you for joining us in this critical discussion. Now, as we wind up, do you think the US decision is right, especially considering its detrimental effects to the environment? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and stay green. For more insights, check out the Green Revolution page on Twitter and Instagram. Together, we can be part of the solution. Bye.